English literature was read much more by the upper classes, and country was influenced by the Italian Renaissance. The sonnet becomes a very important poetic form in Elizabethan writing. William Shakespeare sonnets published in 1609, but written more than 10 years before. The poem contains 14 10-syllable lines come from the Italian of period. The first example in English were written by Sir Thomas Becket and was developed by Henry Howard. Their sonnets written 1530 centuries and 1540 centuries were published in an anthology called Toddle's Miscellany in 1557. The rhyme is generally AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. This is called the Elizabethan scene, and it's different from the original Vigorous scene. Jadi di era atau period ini, English poetry atau sastra yang poetry, jenis poetry di Inggris itu was read much more. Jadi lebih banyak digandrungi atau lebih banyak dibacakan pada period Renaissance. So, sonata cover a wide range of subjects. They are poems of love and trust. Second one is loneliness and changes, and the third one is mysterious, dark, lady environment. The first major poet of this period is Sir Philip Sidney. He was considered an ideal gentleman or the perfect man. Sir Philip Sidney died at the age of only 32. Edmund Spenser was known as the Prince of Poets in the Elizabethan age. The Fairy Queen published in the 1560s century. That is great national epic to celebrate Queen Elizabeth. He used a new verse form. It's called Spenser stanza, or we can quote as ABAB, BC, BCC. It's the most important poem in English since the time of Spenser, almost exactly 200 years ago. The wedding poem, or Ptolemaean, 1596, is one of Spenser's best known lines. Most of the playwrights of the Elizabethan and Jacobean age wrote poetry as well as plays. Many of the poets of the late While Shakespeare's plays took spoken English to a wide new audience, another great influence on the English language was the authorized version of the Bible. The New King James I asked a group of translators to prepare it, and it was published in 1611. There have been many translations of the Bible into English, usually from Latin or Greek, since the first example in the 18,000, but the authorized version became the one standard version for use in all the churches in the nation. This meant that almost everyone, even if they couldn't read, heard the Bible in church on Sundays. The result was that the language of the authorized version became part of everyone's experience. And then, a different kind of prose, but a very popular kind was a live popular pamphlet called Coney Catching Pamphlet. About the subculture of thieves, cheats, and other similar characters, they show that there was a lot of crime, especially to do with money. As the new world of trade grew in the capital city of London, the tone of this writing is comic, and it gives us a view of Elizabethan and Jacobean city life we couldn't otherwise see. And in this period, travel writing becomes so popular as people want to read about the voyage of explorers to the New World of the Americas and the East. Richard Hakluyt collected and published the description of many voyages, both famous and less well-known. His work was continued by his assistant Samuel Purchas. Their publications were very influential in making people more aware of new worlds. Voyage to America, to the West Indies, and to the Arctic were described for the first time. The story of the voyage of Sir Francis Drake's all around the world became an important part of the Elizabethan parade in the successes of the nation. And there is the Italian traveler Marco Polo, who had traveled as far as China in the late 12,000 era and had written some rather fantastic story about his travels. Also became popular when his romance about his travel was translated into English in 1579. And then Utopia by Sir Thomas More brought a new word into the language. It was coined from Greek word as topos, or no place in English, a pun on eau and topos, or a good place. More's Utopia described a pagan and communist city-state in which the institution and policies are entirely governed by reason. The order and dignity of such a state provided a notable contrast with the unreasonable polity of Christian Europe, divided by self-interest and greed for power and riches, which More described in Book 1 written in England in 1516. And then Utopia is put in the mode of a mysterious traveler, Raphael Haid Lodi, in support of his argument that communism is the only cure against egoism in private and public life. Through dialogue, More speak in favor of the mitigation of evil rather than its cure, human nature being fallible. Among that topic discussed by More in Utopia were penology, state-controlled education, religious pluralism, divorce, euthanasia, and women's rights. The resulting demonstration of his learning invention and which established his reputation as one of the foremost humanists, soon translated into most European languages. Utopia became the ancestor of a new literary genre, the utopian romance, including novels of imaginary voyage and the science fiction writing of the present day. El Dorado, the land of gold, might also be an imaginary place, but it is described as a supposedly fabulous city of gold in the interior of South Africa in a real travel book, Discovery of Guyana, by one of the great figures of the age, Sir Walter Raleigh. Again, prose work of the 16th century left a myth which has remained ever since. There was also a lot of romance in these books of voyage, and romance was also found in fiction. Sir Philip Sidney wrote the Arcadia, or ideal pastoral place, in the 15th-18th centuries and becomes lastingly popular. In two versions, the Old and the New, it is a prose romance with many added versions and pastoral part. Shakespeare's best Some of King Lear on a part of Sidney's work. And then the first critical attack on the great writer, the major figure in imaginative prose writing in the late 16th century was Thomas Nash. He is sometimes called the inventor of modern narrative, the unfortunate traveler, and the terror of the night, both dating from 1594, introduced a clever mixture of genre, new kinds of fantasy, and both human and social comment. In many ways, Nash's work are similar to the genre of the novel, which began to grow very popular about 100 years later. Religious writing also became popular. The sermons of a churchman like John Donne were often published. In fact, they were better known in his own lifetime than the poems for the essay form. In the hands of Sir Francis Bacon brought much to the discussion of the issues of the time. These issues were represented in Shakespeare's plays and found also in prose. Bacon's essays have titles like Of Truth and of Revenge, and his masterpiece The Advancement of Learning shows his concern with the new ways of thinking, the discovery of new ideas, and the increasing size of the world. What is truth? Say jesting, and wouldn't stay for an answer is the famous beginning of Bacon's essay. Religious writing also became popular. The sermons of a churchman like John Donne were often published. In fact, they were better known in his own lifetime than the poems for which he is now famous. I'm sorry, it must be like there are repetition in this message. One of the first classics of modern English prose is of the Low's Ecclesiastical Politic, or Church Affairs, by Richard Hooker, published in the 1590s. This is a long essay on the church and intellectual freedom, and in style of academic argument influenced many later writers. One of his statements shows the intellectual climate of change and discussion which is found in Elizabethan and Jacobean prose. Change is not made without inconvenience, even from worse to better. Reading also gave instruction. For the first time, readers could find books which told them how to behave like a proper gentleman, like in the courtier, how to be a proper politician, like the book named The Governor, and even how to trick people, like the Gull's Horn book or Fold God books. Illustrated hooks called emblem books also became popular in the Renaissance. They usually contain pictures with verse to explain the symbolism of the pictures on many subjects such as nature, history, morality. Later, some of these books also used prose writing to accompany the pictures. All these forms of prose fiction, essay, guidebook, travel books, and academic writing were also well developed. They show the first great use of publishing to spread ideas, to cause discussion, and to challenge the mind of readers. They are the beginning of a long tradition of the cultural importance of the printed word. So that's all from the prose in the like Renaissance period. Thank you.